Hello, beautiful people. Hello. And how are you? I hope you are doing well. I hope you're doing exceptionally well. I hope you enjoyed my previous content. If you've seen it, if you haven't, please check it out. Subscribe, like, comment, all of that. My name is Geneva, and I am from Where is Neva? Where is Neva is my brand, and is where am I physically, romantically, artistically, financially, and mentally. And today we're going to talk a little bit about mentally and physically together because you guys all asked me these questions and I'm so excited to answer. They're all questions about my travels from East Africa to London, on my travels all together. And I'm so happy that you guys took the time to ask me questions and I took the time to answer them. So let's get started, okay? Do you think it's important to travel to Africa, especially African Americans? I definitely do think it's important. It's important for us to go back and dig back and really learn from the soil to the air to the sun. Learn, go to the museums and just really take it all in, because what we learn from the Western media is not the truth. And I had to find that out by going, and I challenge everybody to take the time, especially African Americans, to go back to Africa. What's your advice to African Americans who are scared to go to Africa? My advice is to not live in fear. What are you scared of? Are you scared of Ebola? Then you really need to do some research. Are you scared of the shots? Then do some research. All your fears and you're scared, like you being scared, I bet you is not because you did your research. It's because of everybody else and what everybody else has said in their opinion and the naysayers. I bet you. So to those who are scared, do your research and watch my beautiful videos. I mean, some of my videos are kind of scary, but it's the truth. And it doesn't mean that's going to happen to you. So do your research, period. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me. So get over that fear, okay? We don't live life in fear. In 3 countries, do I need a lot of money? It depends on your definition of a lot. It depends on what countries you're going to. It depends on who you're staying with, where you're staying. So I cannot really answer this question because I don't know what your definition of a lot is, nor do I know the countries you're going to. So can you travel to 3 countries off of $4? No. Can you travel to 3 countries off of $1,500 USD? It all depends on what countries you're going to. So once again, do your research and you will find that out. Or you can send me a message. I would love to help you. What you're feeling after that 26-hour bus ride. So to those who did not watch my travel, I released a video of me leaving from Kenya to Rwanda, to Kenya, to Tanzania. And it was a bus ride. So my feelings from that bus ride it was actually amazing. It was a cool journey to sit back and really take everything in. Like, I didn't have to drive. I'm just watching and I'm looking and I'm observing. So my feelings were joyful. I was filled with joy. I mean, I was tired, no doubt, because altogether it hit like 64 hours on a bus. But I was amazed with myself and amazed how beautiful Tanzania and Rwanda and Uganda and Kenya was. Money tips on solo travel. There's so many tips. I might need to make a video about this, but one of my favorite tips is to budget and know where your money's going. So, and have flexibility. So make a budget of where you're staying, how much it costs. Make a budget of the food. Give yourself like, all right, this is estimate money of how much, and always go a little bit over of how much you're going to spend. So let's say I plan on spending $20 a week, which is a low budget, but I plan on spending $20 a week. I'll add another $5 just in case to keep me out of the clear, and I'll plan for 15. So you see what I'm saying? So you're planning higher but aiming lower. And that's what it comes with budgeting. And that's what you do for other things. And you have that extra money, you add to your savings. So I'm gonna create a video of it so that you guys can see it better. Because me explaining it may be a little confusing. Growing up African American, what would you say are the differences between Africans and African Americans? That's a good question. What are the differences? There's a lot of differences. I mean, you can't generalize all Africans because all Africans are not the same, and all African Americans are not. We all have our own story, and we're all doing different things, right? But I was amazed to see the similarities, to see the way my friend Martha in Dar was cooking, like she was cleaning off some peas. And it reminded me of when my great auntie and my grandmother and her sisters would be cooking a big Sunday dinner, you know? So it was beautiful to see the similarities in different households and to show that this is down our bloodline, you know? Like, we tapped in some certain things and we kept that with us. That was remarkable. So differences, there's a lot. I can't really think of them, which is crazy for it to be a lot. But similarities, I was really amazed about even just the cooking aspect. Do you think Africa is a great place to make money? It depends on who you are. Let's say that first. Second of all, it depends on what you want to do. Third of all, I cannot be a voice person for all of Africa and making money. I did see that there was a need for Africans and African Americans and even Black people and just Black people to come back to Africa and own shit, like really own some stuff. Because even when I went to a restaurant in Zanzibar, this man, I think he was Indian, owned this restaurant. And the way that he talked about his employees really broke my heart. He was like, well, I'm trying to teach him the Western way. What makes the Western way right? He was like, well, you know, they don't have much, they didn't really go to school. What makes them not smart? Like, there's so much things. So it's like, it's important for us to see us do great things. Yes, I see that there is a need for Africans, not just Africans, to go to Africa and build, own stuff, and then employ their own, right? African Americans to do the same thing. It was stripped away from us, but it's time for us to go back. Africa is so rich in culture, rich in economics, technology, love. Like, it's so rich and it's so beautiful. So yes, there is a need to be very consistent and passionate about the way to make money. Because the way when I was in East Africa, I noticed a different type of hustle. I mean, they was hustling. So it depends on where your heart is. Because are you ready to make that type of money? Because you got to be about your shit. Did you feel in any way threatened or dealt with savage behavior by Africans portrayed by the media? Let's break this question to two. So did you feel any way threatened? I did. I released a video of how I got threatened in Dar es Salaam, which is the reason why I made it back to Seattle suddenly. So yes, I did. And also with the situation of me fighting my friend's boyfriend, it was a lot of things that I did feel threatened by. But the second part are dealt with savage behavior by Africans portrayed by the media. What savage behavior are you talking about? When I think of savage behavior, I think of back in history when they had, when they made it seem like African Americans weren't human, or they were savage, or they were monstrous. So when I think of that, no, hell no, not at all. But I don't like the word savage either. So I don't think Africans or African Americans or humans in that matter are savage or act savagery, if that's the word. So this question is super deep. But because I felt threatened, was it because of savage behavior? No, it was because of the hurt and because of pain and because people don't know how to handle their childhood traumas and weren't taught coping mechanisms. So was that savagery? No, it was just mental health issues. Like, we got to talk about that. We have to talk about Black community when it comes to mental health. Like, we are all suffering from PTSD. Do we not understand the traumas that are the traumatic experiences that our ancestors went through over and over again? You cannot say that has not been cycled down from womb to womb to womb. Like, listen, that is deep. That is deep. So let's dig deep a little bit. A mother gives life to a child who master abused her. And the husband seen that, right? And so they birthed that child. They didn't birth that child in coping mechanisms of how to deal with the master abusing them, right? And so then that child grows up and gives life to another child. And who knows what traumatic experiences was carried down from that father or that mother to that child. And then it cycles over and over and over. And then there I am with all this hurt in my heart because none of my ancestors were taught coping mechanisms. And some may were taught. But as African Americans, we weren't taught a coping mechanism to deal with our anger and to deal with our hurt. And it makes sense. It makes sense. So let's get rid of savage behavior. I don't know what that freaking means, but let's heal. That's what's so important, is to heal. Did you get any shots? I did. I wish I could tell you the shots. I know when I went to Kenya, I needed the yellow fever shot. But since I was a kid, I used to get a lot of shots just because I liked shots. Kind of weird. But so a lot of my shots is already on my history. So therefore, I don't really got to take many shots anymore, which is cool. Which is kind of cool. What's your must-do things in Tanzania? What do you must do when you're out there? So it depends on what part of Tanzania you are, because we have Arusha, and then I've never been to Arusha, I really want to go, but we have Zanzibar, and then we have Dar es Salaam. So the places that I've been, I'm going to tell you where you guys should go. So the must-dos of Dar es Salaam is go to Mwenge Market. Please go to Mwenge Market and just explore and shop. And even if you don't want to shop, just walk around, get your hair done, whatever. Another thing is in Zanzibar, I would say go to Nwingi, go to the beach. It's so breathtaking. Go watch a sunset. Sunset is amazing. Stone Town, Zanzibar. Go to Prison Island. Go eat Zanzibar pizza. So there's a lot of things you do. You can revisit my videos of Stone Town, Nwenge, and Dar es Salaam and check out the things that I did and see if any of those interest you. What are things you'll tell a solo female traveler not to do? You know what's so cool? I made a whole video of 10 tips for a solo traveler. So please go check that out. I'm gonna leave that at that. So go check that out and you'll see what to do and to not to do. What is the end goal? What is my end goal? My end goal is to promote healing, to love unconditionally, to meet people around the world and listen to their stories. I want to learn as well as inspire. I want to motivate, and I want to show us all that we are the best versions of ourselves, and we can continue to be better versions when we face those childhood traumas and listen to our heart. So my end goal is to heal. My end goal is to love. My end goal is to motivate. I'm not sure how that looks. I'm just going to continue to do what I'm doing, and hopefully, and I know it will pan off, because following my passion, my creative ability, money will always come. What's your advice to Africans and African Americans when dealing with each other? To love each other, to listen, to hear each other's stories, to go back to history lane and visit those traumatic experiences. So I know when I went to Tanzania for the first time and I taught at a elementary school, everybody in that school, the students at the school, thought I was from Africa. They didn't know exactly what country, which I don't know exactly what country, but they thought I was, and I told them, no, I'm from America. And they were amazed. They was like, whoa, there's black people in America? And it's crazy because Obama was the president at the time, but they were just amazed to see me in flesh. So there's a lot of history that we need to revisit, and there's a lot of conversations that needs to be had so we can heal this traumatic experiences that we both dealt with. Why didn't you settle in Kenya? I didn't settle in Kenya because I had other plans to go to Tanzania and Rwanda and other places to go. But I do want to go back to Kenya. I love Nairobi. It was filled with music. It was filled with happiness. And it was so busy, but I loved it so much, and I can't wait to go back. How was your transition to Africa, and what are the steps you took? My transition was so let's talk about my first transition when I went 3 years ago. Before that, I applied through my university to go to Tanzania the first time they were going, but I couldn't afford it. So I tried to hustle. I tried to talk to people to help me, but I couldn't afford it. So I had to say that I couldn't go. A year after that, after I graduated university, I reached back out to my university about joining their next trip to Tanzania. And they told me I could if I could afford it. And so I literally just buried my father. I was going through a tight financial period in my life, and I didn't know exactly how I was going to afford it. So I started sharing my story. I started telling people, like, this is what I'm going through. Don't feel sorry for me, but this is what I'm going through. Just like you guys are going through something. But storytelling heals. So I just shared my story and told them the reason why I want to go to Tanzania. Within sharing my story, I raised enough money plus more to head to Tanzania. So my transition was storytelling, sharing my story. The second time, so this recent time that I made it to Tanzania, I was living in DC, and for 3 years I kept on getting invited by Martha to visit her again. And I didn't know how I was going to make that happen, because it was just like, to fly to Tanzania from Seattle or anywhere in them states can be very pricey. So I was like, I don't know. I just started saving. I made a little money jar, and I just started putting money in. And it took me a whole year. It actually took me losing my job to really take that leap. So my transition was a rocky transition, but it was stepping out on faith. On all transitions that I made it back to the continent, it was stepping out on faith and believing myself. So that's my transition, is believing in yourself, stepping out on faith, and understanding the journey and pushing through. What's your views on Mama Africa? Period. Mama Africa. I love Mama Africa. And I feel like I showcase that within my videos. Mama Africa is my heart. Who did you use for your self-service? So you want to know something funny? I was actually trying to use Verizon out there. So Verizon is a US-based phone service, but Verizon does not work. Okay, it does not work out there. And if it does work, it's just so expensive. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go off the grid and not. But that exactly was hard, because my mama wanted to talk to me, my family wanted to talk to me, and my friends wanted to check in, and I was posting on social media, so it was just hard. Until I got persuaded by some friends to say, Geneva, you need a SIM card. So we went to the shop, we got a SIM card, and it was Vodacom. And it worked well. What they do is they give you minutes, or you pay for a certain amount of minutes, and whenever you use that minutes, you're done. You pay for a certain amount of data. When you use the data, you're done. Until you reload, and you'll just keep on paying. All right? So be careful with that, because you don't want to use all your data and use all your minutes, and you're just SOL. And it's crazy when you're low. They'll send you a text message telling you that you're low. But the text message is in Swahili. So I, for the most part, ran out of minutes and ran out of data because I didn't understand the text message. But be better than me. Just never run out of minutes or data. What did you use for accommodations? Airbnb, hostels? I used both. Let's start from Frankfurt. I stayed in a hostel. When I stayed in London, I stayed in hostels, Airbnbs, and hotels. When I stayed in Amsterdam, I stayed in a hostel. When I stayed in Kenya, I stayed with a friend. When I stayed in Rwanda, we stayed in a hostel. When I stayed in Tanzania, I stayed in hotels and with a friend. And Airbnb. So it was all the above. All the above. Were you ever fearful before you began international travel? What motivated you to get over those fears? Hell yeah, I was fearful. And every time I take on another trip, I am scared. I'm terrified. But I realized, like, fear is temporary. Like, what am I doing standing in fear? Life is too short to be living life in fear. So go after your dreams. Go after whatever your heart desires. Like, listen to yourself. And if that's what you want, you're going to go after it. And you're going to move things around so you can. So what motivated me to get out of my fears? Knowing that I'm the only person in my way. Get out of my way. Geneva, get out your own way. Literally. And go after them. My dreams will not be accomplished by just sitting in here. The places that you visited, were African people just sitting in their poverty and waiting for someone to save them, or did you get the feeling that Africans are working on their lives every day? These questions are so loaded. Can we talk about poverty as a whole? Because I don't understand why when we think about poverty or talk about poverty, Africa comes into the concept. Like, that needs to go. That needs to be destroyed. Like, that's not the case. There is poverty everywhere. Everywhere. And yes, there is poverty in Africa. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that there's poverty everywhere. So no, they weren't just sitting. I can't say Africans as a whole, because people sometimes get stuck in their situation and feel helpless. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard because when you're not learned or when you're not taught coping mechanisms to get out of your own hurt, then you will sit still. So from what I saw, no. From the people that I hung out with, no, they weren't sitting in poverty. I wouldn't even say they were experienced poverty. They weren't sitting. They were working hard. They were hustling. People were hustling. They were having shops at every corner. They would sell you a water bottle on the corner of the street. Like, yo, it's amazing how some of the situations remind me of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or Chicago, Illinois. It's like people walking around the street, passing you water bottles, selling them for $1. Like, it's a hustle. It's a hustle. I hope that answered that question. That question was so loaded. Had the chance to stay in Africa forever, what would you do for the people? Africa is so big. And what would I do for the people? I'm not sure. I would be myself, and hopefully that shows through. I don't know what I can do for the people. You know, like, I can spread love. I can show love. But Africa's so big. I will continue to do, like, I will not put that job on me. Like, I will not tell myself I have to do for the people. Because that itself is a lot of work. What I'll do for me is continue to be me and continue to grow and continue to heal. And hopefully that healing will shine out and heal others and inspire others to go through their own transparency journey and go through their own healing journey. And that's wherever I am at. If I'm in America, if I'm in Africa, if I'm in Europe, if I'm in South America, wherever I am, I will continue to grow and heal myself. And hopefully that will spread to other people. So what would I do for the people? I would just continue to love everybody. What is your biggest lesson you learned during your time in Africa? Dang, that's deep. The biggest lesson was to understand that I am my best friend. To understand that I am so powerful, that I can do whatever I put my mind to. I learned the power within myself. And that itself is big enough. So a lesson I learned was the power within self. Is Africa just a poverty-stricken continent with no developments? It isn't. It's not. No. Did you move in Uber or a local taxi? I think I took a taxi one time. No, I'm not sure. But I moved around in Uber and Bajajes, and my friend in a bus. So it was different types of transportation. A lot of public transportation. How long did you stay in Tanzania, and did you learn any Swahili? I stayed in Tanzania for 2 months, and I picked up a couple words like mambo, habari, nzuri. Oh, I learned a couple more, but a lot of people wanted to speak to me in English, and it hurt because it was like, no, I want to learn Swahili. So next time I'm out there, or soon, I want to take a Swahili class. When you go back and forth to Africa, do they require you to get any shots? It definitely depends on the country. There's certain countries that you have to get certain shots. Like for instance, here in Ghana, you need yellow fever shots. However, I had a friend who went to Kenya and didn't get the yellow fever shot. However, got his yellow fever card. So the choice is yours. I got my shot. He didn't get his shot. But those who go with me on this trip, I tell them to go get them shot. Because nobody got time to be dealing with somebody that gets sick. Like, what inspiration did you take from Africans? Can we change this term of Africans? Because we can't generalize all Africans, but to love unconditionally, to step out in self and be yourself, to vibe to music, to enjoy people around you and embrace them. Inspiration is to continue to move forward, to look back and continue to move forward. There's so much things I learned. There's so much things. How did I get started? So majority of my travels came from me starting my transparency journey. When I realized that I no longer want to hide behind my truth and step in within my truth and be open to this journey in front of the people. Listen, that itself is hard. All of these steps is hard. First step, to understand your truth is hard. To look at it face value is hard. To then go through the coping mechanism by yourself is hard. And then doing it in front of everybody is even harder. So how did I get started? Is because I realized there is a need for this healing. And I realized if I can do it, you all can do it too. So let me do it and show y'all how hard this shit is so that we can do it together. Did you love Tanzania enough to go back? Yes, I did. I love it so much. Regardless of everything I went through, I love it. And I can't wait to go back. I can't wait to go back. How can you describe African people and how they see and receive you? African people, I can't really describe African people because that is so broad. Africa is so big. And the people within Africa are so different. So from what the people that I met was full of love, full of happiness, full of music, full of reassurance. There's some people that I met that were really, they needed help. Let's just say that. And how did people receive and receive me? I hope that they see me and receive me with open arms and love me unconditionally, because I felt like I stepped out of my love, and hopefully they see the same. How was the air quality and sanitation? So I believe it was good. Yeah, I think it all depends on the person. I was very clean. Like every time you'll get a meal, they'll bring a pot of water and a picture, and you'll wash your hands right then. You know, like, we don't do that. When I was younger, I was told to go to the bathroom and wash my hands, or make sure you wash your hands. But when you go to restaurants, it's not mandatory that they'll come and bring you a bucket of water so you can wash your hands right before you eat. So that was dope. The air quality, it was cool. I didn't really get sick. My allergies weren't acting up. I do get bad allergies back home, but I could smell. I could breathe straight. Some ways you prepare your body for new environment. I don't. I probably should. I don't. I feel like I drink more water. I try to. I don't know. I wish I could answer this. I probably should start doing this. Thank you so much for this question. I don't. What was your favorite part? I had so many favorite parts, but if I had to pick a few, not one, if I had to pick a few, would be content creating. Oh my gosh. I collabed and created so much content with so many dope content creators. Like, I'm so happy. I met Watamu, I met Tina Safrina, I met Afrojack.
Black is beautiful. Black is wonderful. Black is beautiful. Black is wonderful. An African queen.
I met Gavin. I met Victoria. And that's only a few. I met so many people who are just creators, that are creating from their hearts. Not just creating, but creating from their heart. And I felt so at home because, I've been looking for people like you. Like, it was remarkable. So that was my favorite part, was creating and getting to know people. Can I get by speaking English in Tanzania? You can. I did. I did. It was hard sometimes. However, I did have friends who spoke Swahili that could translate sometimes. But yeah, you can. You definitely can. You dress in Tanzania. Tanzania is a very conservative country. So be careful with what you wear, especially women. And it hurts my heart saying that, but to not be stared at and be whistled down and catcalling, you do want to wear stuff that will cover you up a little bit. And it's unfortunate that I have to say that, because it's not your fault. I'm a strong believer, wear the hell what you want to wear, but you gotta be careful sometimes because of the way this culture was created and society is. Which island beach is best in Zanzibar? I don't know, because I didn't go to all island beaches. I want to. But from what I've seen, I really like Nwingi, because that sunset was a fucking killer. That sunset was remarkable, and I loved it so much. But Stone Town, no, Prison Island. Yes. Prison Island, the water around the island. Oh my gosh. It was so blue. It was so pretty. I just wanted to touch it. I did touch it a couple times. Do you experience food poisoning or any sickness while traveling? Fun fact. My last time while I was out there, I had to go to the hospital. And I went to the hospital because I got sick. And in my mind, I thought it was a common cold. However, I kept on getting bit up by mosquitoes out there. Night mosquitoes carry malaria. And I was taking my medicine, but there was times that I would skip. So I got nervous, especially those around me was like, Geneva, you need to get checked out. What if you caught malaria? Like, you need to. And I was like, okay, fine. But in my head, I still thought I had a common cold. So I went to the hospital, paid about $30 to see the doctor. They did their tests and stuff, and found out it was just a cold. I didn't catch no malaria, but it was good that I got checked out. Were you intimidated by men? By men as a whole, no. But by the situations that had happened when I was out there by certain men, yes. So, how was it with the language barrier? It was difficult at times. Like certain people, like getting a cab or getting an Uber. I got a lot of Ubers canceled on me because I couldn't text them in Swahili, and there was a language barrier. But for the most part, I actually missed a flight because I couldn't speak Swahili or because my Uber canceled on me. So it was, for the most part, it was okay. But there were times that it wasn't the best. 2 more questions. Yay. Okay, next question. Have you been to Watamu, Kenya? I have not. I hope I said that right. But I would love to go. If you wrote that question, please message me and let me know how Watamu, Kenya is. Last question. How long were you in Africa? I was in Africa, East Africa, for 2 months. I was in East Africa for 2 months. So thank you so much for asking me these questions. I hope I answered them. I do not know everything. A lot of the times I told you do your own research. But when I learn this stuff, I am able to tell you all. But until then, do your research. I love you guys so much unconditionally. Thank you so much for asking me these questions. Thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you so much for subscribing, because I know you did, because you love me so much. And I hope you have a phenomenal day filled with happiness and reassurance. Thank you.